So here's the thing, the NHL has over a century of history. That's thousands of players, countless goals, fights, miracles, dodgy mullets, and you expect me to squeeze all of that into 10 things? Absolutely ridiculous. But here at Door 14, we love a challenge. Now before you start sharpening your skates and flooding the comments with, but you forgot Gretzky's 894 goals, or why is Miracle on Ice here? Remember, this isn't a definitive history. It's 10 things you need to know to understand the chaos, the legends, the quirks, and yes, the downright weirdness of the NHL. So whether you're a die-hard fan who's memorised every single draft class, a casual who thinks Connor McDavid sounds like a lad from your local GAA team, or you've just stumbled in here wondering why on earth people are throwing seafood on the ice, here are 10 things you need to know about the NHL. The birth of the NHL. Picture it, Montreal, December 1917, the Windsor Hotel. A bunch of team owners are gathered, frustrated by one man, Eddie Livingstone, the owner of the Toronto Blue Shirts, who's basically the pantomime villain of early hockey. Instead of negotiating with him, they did what any mature adults would do. They burned the whole thing down and started again. That night they dissolved the old National Hockey Association and created a brand new league, the National Hockey League. Just 4 teams at the start: Montreal Canadiens, Montreal Wanderers, Ottawa Senators, and technically the Quebec Bulldogs. But the Bulldogs were broke, so Toronto got a last minute replacement team, the Toronto Arenas. And here's the kicker, those arenas won the first NHL championship. Imagine stumbling into a league as a filler team and walking away with the trophy. Classic Toronto. The NHL was meant to be temporary, just a workaround to freeze Livingstone out. But more than a century later, it's a multi-billion-dollar empire with 32 teams, TV deals, and a global audience. Not bad for something born out of pettiness. The original 6. From 1942 to 1967, the NHL shrunk down to just 6 teams, the so-called original 6. Canadiens, Maple Leafs, Bruins, Blackhawks, Red Wings, and Rangers. Now quick fact check, they weren't the first 6 NHL teams, but they were the 6 that survived World War II and defined hockey for 25 years. This was an era of dynasties and grudges. The Canadiens and Leafs dominated, Montreal winning 5 cups in a row between 1956 and 1960, and Toronto bagging their last one in 1967. Yes, Leafs fans, that's still the last one. The rivalries forged here still echo today. Rangers versus Islanders might not exist without it. Bruins versus Canadiens, that feud is practically genetic at this point. And let's not forget Detroit versus Toronto, which at times felt like open warfare. Hockey back then was gritty, low scoring and physical. Goalies didn't even wear masks until Jacques Plante introduced one in 1959. It was brutal, it was raw, and it laid the foundations for the global spectacle that we know now. Expansion and going global. In 1967, the NHL said, enough of this 6 teams nonsense, let's double it. They added 6 more: Los Angeles Kings, the California Seals, the Minnesota North Stars, Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the St. Louis Blues. Suddenly, hockey wasn't just a Canadian passion project with a few American cousins. It was heading nationwide. From there, the league kept growing. By the 1990s, we had teams in the unlikeliest of places: Dallas, Tampa Bay, Anaheim, places where ice is something you put in a drink, not play on. And yet, those teams thrived. Tampa Bay and Dallas have more recent cups than Toronto. Ouch. Then came Vegas. The Golden Knights entered in 2017 and in true Vegas fashion went all in, reaching the Stanley Cup final in their very first season. 6 years later, they actually won it, the ultimate expansion mic drop. On top of that, international stars poured in. Swedish greats like Björn Salming, Russian phenoms like Ovechkin, Czech legends like Jaromir Jagr. The NHL became the ultimate melting pot of hockey talent from across the globe. Legends of the game. You can't talk NHL without talking legends. First up, Wayne Gretzky, the great one. The man holds share of 61 records. 61. His career points record, 2,857. For context, if you removed every single goal he ever scored, he'd still be the NHL's all-time points leader just on assists. Insane. Then there's Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey. who played in the 1950s and gave us the Gordie Howe hat-trick, a goal, an assist and a fight in one game. Absolute chaos. Mario Lemieux, a magician who battled cancer and still came back to dominate. Sidney Crosby, the face of modern hockey, dragging the Penguins to 3 cups. And Alexander Ovechkin, the Russian machine, who in 2024-2025 beat Gretzky's long-standing gold record. These aren't just stat machines, they're the reason people fall in love with hockey. Each era has its heroes, its rivalries, its jaw-dropping highlights that get played on a loop. Rivalries and bad blood. Hockey is great, but hockey with a grudge? That's cinema. Take the Battle of Alberta, Edmonton Oilers versus the Calgary Flames. 2 cities, 300 kilometers apart, both absolutely loathing each other. During the 1980s, when Gretzky's Oilers were flying, the Flames were their ultimate foil. The games weren't just about points, they were about pride. And then there's Toronto versus Montreal. Leafs versus Habs is Canada's ultimate family-splitting rivalry. Thanksgiving dinners ruined, friendships ended, marriages tested, and it's been going on since day one. Or the Bruins versus Canadiens, arguably the fiercest of them all. Boston's grit versus Montreal's flair. They've met over 30 times in the playoffs, and the hate is generational. Even newer rivalries like Rangers versus Islanders, born in the 1970s, carry that bitter edge. Rivalries make the NHL what it is: emotional, unpredictable, and sometimes a little violent. The business of hockey. Behind every slapshot is a spreadsheet. The NHL isn't just about goals, it's about dollars. The introduction of the salary cap in 2005 was a game changer, forcing teams to balance star power with depth. You can't just buy your way to a dynasty anymore. Looking at you, early 2000s Rangers. Trades add chaos. Players have literally been told mid-game, pack your bags, you're headed to Ottawa. Or when one single trade changed the game forever. None more so than the iconic trade of Gretzky from the Oilers to LA. Then there's the usual annual entry draft, where 18-year-olds go from teenagers to millionaires overnight. Connor McDavid was one of the most hyped since Crosby, and he's living up to every bit of it. The NHL now pulls in over $6 billion annually, with massive US TV deals and sponsorships. Not bad for a league that once held meetings in hotel bars. Rules and traditions. The NHL has rules, and then it has rules. Yes, there's icing, offsides, penalties and shootouts. That's the easy stuff. But then there's the unwritten code: fighting. Technically against the rules, but still policed by enforcers. Drop the gloves, take your 5 minutes, get the crowd roaring. It's theatre. Then you've got traditions. Playoff beards, because nothing says dedicated athlete like looking like you've been lost in the woods for over a month. Rookies forced to skate a solo lap during warm-ups while everyone else watches. And so-called conference trophy curse: touch it and you'll lose the Stanley Cup. Superstition or just bad luck? You decide. These quirks are what make hockey unique. It's not just a sport, it's a culture. The Stanley Cup. Now let's talk about the Holy Grail, the Stanley Cup. It's the oldest professional sports trophy in North America, dating back to 1893. Unlike other leagues, where you get a shiny new trophy every year, the Stanley Cup is the same trophy. Every champion's name is engraved, and when it fills up, they retire the oldest band to the Hall of Fame. It's history in metal. And then there are the stories. The cup has been to the bottom of swimming pools, had cereal eaten from it, been dented by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and even had babies christened in it. Each player gets a day with it, leading to legendary parties. But first, you've got to win it, and that means surviving the playoffs. 16 teams for best of 7 series played at breakneck intensity. Double and triple overtimes, players skating on broken bones, goaltenders becoming folk heroes overnight. The Stanley Cup Playoffs are less a tournament, more a war of attrition. Weird NHL. Now for my favourite bit, the weird stuff. Detroit Red Wings throw octopuses on the ice. Why? In 1952, a fishmonger's brother lobbed one onto the rink. 8 legs for the 8 wins they needed to win the cup at the time. Detroit swept the playoffs, and boom, a tradition was born. They even made a mascot, Al the Octopus. Arena manager Al Sapotka used to swing the slimy thing over his head until the NHL banned it. Party poopers. Nashville fans decided hold my beer and started chucking catfish. The Florida Panthers in the 90s, plastic rats. Scott Mellenby killed one in the locker room with a stick and scored 2 goals in the same night. Rat Trick was officially born. And don't forget player superstitions. Goalies refusing to step on lines, Sidney Crosby not changing his jockstrap for years, entire teams refusing to touch trophies. Weird, messy and hilarious, and utterly NHL. The NHL today and tomorrow. Fast forward to today, and the NHL is a 32-team, $6 billion a year beast. It's broadcasting globally, pulling in record attendance, and even staging outdoor games in stadiums packed with 80,000 fans. The league is experimenting too. Smart puck tracking, VR broadcasts, partnerships with women's hockey, and international games in Europe. Hockey's footprint is getting bigger every year. And the future? Well, whispers of expansion continue. Houston, Quebec City, and even a European division one day. Who knows? But one thing's for sure, the NHL will keep evolving just like it has since that petty Montreal hotel meeting in 1917. And there you have it, 10 things to know about the NHL. We've covered angry owners in smoky hotels, dynasties, legends, grudges, business deals, facial hair, seafood, and the most glorious trophy in sport. And honestly, that's just scratching the surface. The NHL isn't just a league, it's a living, breathing soap opera on ice. It's history, culture, drama, and a little bit of chaos all rolled into one. So we want to hear from you. What's your favourite NHL story? Do you live for rivalries? Do you love the playoff beards? Or are you just here for the octopus throwing maniacs in Detroit? Drop a comment and keep the conversation going. If you enjoyed this, make sure to hit subscribe and check out the Door 14 Hockey podcast for more deep dives, weird facts and usual banter. Until next time, keep your sticks on the ice and your seafood in the freezer, unless you're in Detroit.